और थोड़ा आगे कर दो, नहीं आता है।
पूरा नहीं है। क्लियर আছে না?
As per the timetable, there was tutorial. So tutorial we're not doing. We'll do it at the last. हाँ अभी ठीक है, हाँ अभी ठीक है। सुबह में फास्ट स्लाइड नहीं लगा, उनको अंदर अगर वॉइस आता है, ये नहीं भी आता है, चलेगा। That is more they want ना, ये पॉइंटिंग कर रहा है वो है ना, अगर वो सब दिखता है, वॉइस सुनने में आता है, तो क्या है? ये सर अभी ठीक है, अभी ठीक है। Yes. Examination for MTech students and are compulsory. You have to take exams. PhD scholars mandatory. One more exam we will have on the last day, 11. So please prepare well. It will be asked from whatever is being taught here. Home assignments, I'm noting down whatever he is telling. We will assess home assignments. Yesterday he gave one assignment. Okay, that you need to do. I'm just noting down what are the assignments he is giving. And the most important thing why it is necessary is for MTech students now for PhD admissions, Gyan credit earned in Gyan and grade earned in Gyan courses are mandatory for admission in PhDs. Okay, as per the advertisement that IITs are doing now. So that is mandatory for you to take exam. So be serious. If you don't understand anything, raise your point, clarify your doubts.
Okay, to finish this lecture day, I have only 14 slides, so I hope today we finish. Just now we finish in half an hour. Tomorrow we start attractive research method. I don't want separate, divided. Some parts start today and after, so it's better finish on this topic. So now we consider several problems, optimization problems, static optimization problems with LMI constraints. Only to illustrate how we can do it. Now, first problem is we have some affine. We have two affine matrices, which is linear. Affine means that they are linear by P. This symmetric, P also symmetric matrix. So A also symmetric matrix. If we consider lambda maximum of some symmetric matrix, now you know that lambda maximum, it's exactly norm of this matrix, or symmetric matrix, it's exactly norm. So if we consider norm of this matrix R, and we minimize it over all P such that another constraint would be fulfilled, it can be represented in a very simple way. Now, what does it mean lambda maximum? If we compare it to two matrices A and unitary matrix, so if one matrix more than another one, then lambda maximum one matrix more than lambda maximum another matrix. So all characteristics are in the same relation. So multiply by lambda the unitary matrix. We can represent this inequality lambda E minus R. So like first diagonal block, and next constraints we put in next diagonal block. So fixing again procedure will consist in iterating of lambda. So we first select lambda, and if program say yes, okay, matrix P exists which satisfies this inequality, we make this lambda minimum because we wish minimize lambda maximum with respect to P. We minimize make smaller lambda again, and iterating, if we can finally we're able finally to find matrix P, which minimizes lambda maximum of this affine matrix with this constraint. Idea is the same. The program in MATLAB exists. So in MATLAB, YLVF exactly has several functionals. Trace, lambda maximum, and another some functionals exist in this program of MATLAB with constraints. We only should say which constraints we have. So we complete this matrix and obtain optimization. All numerical. Now, next one is it's this program has a name. It's tolerance level optimization. So the program is as follows. We have this matrix Riccati-Luria inequality because this quadratic term is like Riccati. And this is gamma participating this way. So we have these constraints. Among all these matrices E and gamma satisfying this inequality, we need to find minimal gamma in this and corresponding E. Again, it's very easy to represent using Schur complement. Schur complement is here. This diagonal. Exactly Schur complement. This matrix gamma I can consider like in center here. I can put it here. And you remember, and this matrix, this scalar is in matrix representation. When I put it inside, it will be gamma minus 1 by matrix 1. And this is S22. You remember formula that this equivalent representation by Schur complement, they participate S22 minus 1. So inverse will be gamma, by inverse of 1 is 1. So we have this part corresponds this inequality, exactly this inequality by Schur complement. But also we should here mention that P is positive definite. So you remember that if we have several constraints, matrix constraints, we can put it like block diagonal and consider one matrix. So this is representation of such program. And again, we select some gamma large enough and trying to find solution of this. If it does exist, if not exist, we should take more. If exist, we should take smaller. Iterating, we also can minimize this function. All this possibility exists in this MATLAB package, which is an area domain. Here is a condition of quadratic stability. We can define alpha, parameter alpha scalar. It will correspond to quadratic stability, some linear system. And this parameter alpha for given matrix P satisfies this equation. It's easy to demonstrate that quadratic stability is exactly this expression. Now I can give you this explanation. We analyze only stability program. Rx is here. Introduce matrix V, quadratic form V, which has this form, quadratic form. P is positive definite. And calculating linear derivative of x, it will be the x multiplied by x point. Derivative of this it will be 2 xtp, and this is x point. We substitute here. We substitute here dynamics ax. I have this expression. But this matrix, it is this symmetric matrix A, not symmetric. And you remember that any quadratic form we can represent like in symmetrized form. This matrix transpose divided by 2. That's why this disappears. So we can represent it like this. We have this expression. So if we have this estimation, suppose that matrix T satisfies this estimation. So it will be less than 1/2. Here we have this expression. And we have minus alpha/2. And this scalar I can take outside. And I have it like that. So, but by definition, this is exactly E, no? E of x. So we have this expression. So derivative is this part less or equal than this expression. We have differential inequality, linear inequality. It's very easy to solve. So we have this v of x will be less or equal than v of x0, and here exponent minus alpha/2. Okay, and this is index of quadratic stability. Why quadratic stability? Because we analyze stability using quadratic form. So, and this is index of stability. So alpha, if we have more, if alpha large, so larger, we have convergence more quicker for this matrix. So this is exactly alpha is characteristic of how quickly we converge to 0. So suppose that exists matrix T which satisfies this inequality. So in this case, we can formulate the following proposition. So the previous inequality can be rewritten with sign more or equal. This we put left hand side and multiply both by -1, and we obtain minus this, minus or another one, and more or equals than 0. So we have, and we also wish to have matrix P also positive. So again, we construct a joint matrix inequality with two blue diagonals. One diagonal is this one, this equivalent of that, but it will be positive. And this matrix also positive. And again, iterative procedure, but here we wish to make very interesting to find maximum quadratic stability, not minimum, maximum quadratic stability. So here, procedure should be inverse. First, we select very, very small alpha. If exists solution of this inequality, we increase alpha a little bit, increase, up to time when the program says that no solution. If no solution, return back one step, and this is maximum estimation of maximum quadratic stability. So the idea is very, very close. Now, this inequality. Now we consider the following problem. Let matrix A be stable. Now it is the same like here. If matrix A not stable, we have now this. We cannot obtain this inequality. Never exist. If this is, for example, scalar case. Scalar case R should be negative. So negative less than alpha minus alpha E. But if alpha positive, look, this alpha, if R positive, this inequality which we require never fulfill. So it should be stable. The same again here. But here we consider a little bit more complex situation. Is we consider the standard stationary system, and so that U is feedback. Sorry, I guess here is error. Here should be K should be from right hand side. Dx. So we consider feedback is Kx. So closed loop system will be X point plus A plus BK. BKX. You know that if system is controllable, always if pair is AB is controllable, always exist another matrix K such this summation will be negative, will be stable. So here, I'm sorry for this error. This is stable. It should be inverse. Then, if we consider now the trace of this matrix, C is any matrix and non-squared matrix, this matrix. P is matrix symmetric, which we consider size of n by n. So if we wish to consider this trace, minimize it with respect to matrix P, under these constraints, so the solution of this problem is attained when here we have equality. Here we have equality. This is statement of this theorem. No, it's practically evident because if you put this term left hand side, it will be minus. So left hand side less the sum matrix, and we need make it move, and which is where is boundary? Right hand side does not depend on the boundary when this is equality, when exists equality. So we have this expression. And how we write it now represent this like element. No, first suppose that this matrix, matrix P satisfies this equality for some positive matrix Q, so minus Q is negative, definitely. Now then you know that if you have Lyapunov equation can be expressed, solution of Lyapunov expression can be expressed like integral. And this is solution of Lyapunov. Linear Lyapunov equation can be represented here like matrix A, and this central matrix, this one. If you put it the left hand side, this matrix will be B plus Q. It will be like this. No, Q is positive definite. So we open brackets and we will have two integrals. One integral with respect to B, another integral with respect to Q. But Q positive definite. So without this term, we only will have less because this part is positive, we can delete it. So down estimation for P, it is exactly this one. But this is definition, this is solution, exactly solution of previous Lyapunov equation when we have equality. So it is reachable. And hence we have the following situation. Consider this trace, say is any matrix. And we can represent again matrix P. This equality, we can represent it instead of P, we can represent this expression. And we obtain it will contain two integrals. One integral is this one, is exactly P star. And another integral is this one. But this is positive. This matrix is positive. If you some positive matrix multiply from left by any matrix, say from right or any transpose, you obtain the same positive definite, non-negative definite. So this term non-negative definite because trace is summation of eigenvalues. So all of the summation also more equal 0. This term non-negative, so it's more equal than exactly this. So this is minimum of this expression. So this is proof of lemma. It's very simple, but sometimes it's useful. Next one. Exist several problems when we need minimize logarithm of determinant this matrix, and matrix R is also found on X, so linear by X, and we need minimize this expression by X. It's not difficult to prove that this function logarithm of determinant of inverse matrix is a convex. No, logarithm determinant is a convex function of R. R is linear by X. So let's consider this problem, minimize this expression under two additional constraints. First one is R more than 0, and another matrix is given. Another matrix P of X also more than 0. Here clear that matrix R should be positive, because if matrix R is positive, inverse matrix also positive, determinant is product of eigenvalues, it's also positive, and logarithm of positive value exists. But if we not require this inequality, so inside determinant may be negative and logarithm not defined. So correctly defined expression is this one. It makes sense when this matrix is positive definite, this also positive definite. Both matrices are symmetric. How we can resolve this problem? It is very I would say it's very nonlinear, because logarithm, determinant, it's something very complex. Now here's some example which give you idea when this problem appears. You know that ellipsoid, if we consider ellipsoid defined by this inequality. So in three-dimensional case, so ellipsoid is collection function which is inside of this convex body. Ellipsoid defined matrix P. It's interesting to know that so collection of all points which satisfies this inequality define ellipsoid in n-dimensional space. In three-dimensional, I give a graphics, in n-dimensional is defined by this inequality. All collection all Z satisfying this inequality are constitute the ellipsoid. Here, interesting to note that how characteristic of matrix P related with radius of ellipsoid. Now, here ellipsoid will have, in this case, will have three radius. This radius 1, this radius 2, and this radius. So this main semi-axis. So main semi-axis of this ellipsoid coincide inversely proportional exactly eigenvalues of this matrix. It is very evident that look, this one, E1 to 3, this. But in general also we have this relation. It's interesting to note that, look, if matrix P more greater, is matrix P greater, it means that eigenvalues greater than radius smaller, but physically it's very clear. Look, you have product which is less or equal than 1. If P very large, Z should be very small to satisfy this inequality. So if P greater, ellipse smaller. We have this expression. So, and now we consider the following situation. In n-dimensional space, the problem may have several applications. We have n-dimensional space. We not consider any ellipse. This is we have n-dimensional space. And in n-dimensional space, we have given points. This point, this point, this point. Collection of points. I don't know. Here. We have collection of points. Sure that any collection of points we can put inside, upload inside some convex set. Let's try to upload inside of ellipsoid. So which ellipsoid here? For example, this one. Yes, it contains. It's very large, so it contains the. But we interesting to find minimal ellipsoid which contains these points. So minimal ellipsoid. See? So this problem analytically can be formulated as follows. So we have a given point V. This is given point. It will be L. The size of space is n, but point may be any. Maybe smaller than n, maybe more than n, different. So we wish to find the ellipsoid, it means we wish to find P. So if they are inside of ellipsoid, they should satisfy this inequality. They should satisfy this inequality. And size, how you know the size, volume of ellipsoid is determinant. So we know that minimal ellipsoid consists in finding P which is greater, which is more. But if we consider P minor and without this, initially, we wish maximize with P. But if I put here -1 and determinant, this is volume, so I wish instead of take it larger, I will take it smaller. The determinant is product. So minimize this. No, logarithm only not consider. It's how would say masштабing. It's only normalization of the parameter. Logarithm. Yeah. Any monotonic function you can consider instead of logarithm. Important is one. So If we minimize this, but the same, because logarithm is monotonic, the same minimize this, with these constraints and p more than 0, we exactly resolve this problem. So in package, in MATLAB package exists exactly a special functional of this type. If you're interested to find minimal ellipsoid containing given points, you can do it numerically. In YALMIP exists. So again, we can consider, I have not formulated, you can consider these constraints. You see this LMIs with respect to that one. And represent, it's very easy to represent this functional, you know how, what to do with this and this two. You can also represent it like quadratic form, you can represent it like using Schur complement. Schur complement. How represent this this expression? VI P VI less or equal than 1. This is inside of ellipsoid. We can put left hand side, or it's better this right hand side. So we have more than 0, 1 minus VI transpose P VI. This is S11. Here, this is here I can define it like S22 minus 1. This will be S12, and this is S21 or 12 transpose. That is the same. So we have this representation. No? But this third condition of Schur complement, it is equivalent if both are positive, S11 more than 0, constant 1 more than 0, P more than 0, so inverse also more than 0, this more than 0, this is equivalent to condition fulfilled. The third condition can be written like this, like matrix inequality 1, VI transposed, and here S22 is P minus 1. It's P minus 1. We have this inequality, and we have it more. Let's consider strictly inside, not in boundary, strictly inside. So, it will be more than 0. It will be like this. This equation, this expression, and we can define X, matrix X, like P minus 1. So our problem will be linear by, will be convex by X. So now our problem is this one. Logarithm determinant of X minimized by X, positive definite, because P positive definite. On the following constraints, we should construct these matrices, define this matrix like for example, LE. LE, and instead of this element, we will have X now. So LE dependent of X. So it will be L1 of X large log, then L2 X large log, Q0, 0, and so on. And last one will be L of X. And we have this expression. And we should edit that X also positive. So the last one will be L plus 1 inequality here, X also will participate in this block. So we consider this extended matrix, this 0, this 0, and we have only diagonal blocks element. This one too. And introduce this inside of program. This functional is given in YALMIP, so we can resolve this problem. So it's very interesting that some interpretation exists several problems when you need to put collection of some points inside of some ellipse. So this is this problem. Now, briefly, now we will discuss what does it mean to solve LMI. Now you remember formulas which in previous yesterday which I gave you. So exists a lot of solutions, like any inequality, if it's feasible, exists many solutions of this equation, and we give a formula of that. But what does it mean to solve inequality? It means to find any of these solutions, to find something, one of them. And you know that we are able to consider two representation of LMI. One LMI with respect to matrix, which we just now discussed, and equivalent representation in vector space. But number of variables is if matrix contain, if it is symmetric, how much elements we should find. Diagonal element n and this triangle. But totally elements is n plus 1 divided by 2. This is number of unknown elements. So this element can be represented like in basis of matrix, basis of symmetric matrix. We remember can be represented in vector representation. Why we need a vector representation? Because we will use some gradient type of optimization to resolve LMI. And gradient type optimization is defined in vector space, not in matrix space. So first, if we consider symmetric matrix X, we can define X vector X like column of this matrix. What does it mean? You have matrix, this matrix. You have matrix X. This one column. This is your matrix X. This is X large. And what is this X column, operator column of X? You consider extended, this is first column, second column, third column, n. It means that you consider extended vector here. Here we put one, then take another one down, down, down. So here will be 1, 2, and so on up to the end. So this operator which installs the correspondence between vector matrix and column matrix by this arrangement. So we define the small x as vector, which correspond to this operation. And to resolve, for example, to find okay. To solve the matrix inequality, we will use the ellipsoid algorithm. It's not ellipsoid method. This ellipsoid algorithm from optimization theory. This method was suggested in I guess, end of 70s, Nemirovsky, Arkady Nemirovsky and Yuri Nesterov suggested this method. It consists of the following. The following steps one second. Suppose we have some ellipsoid with center in point x0. What does it mean? We consider ellipsoid now always with center in 0, but if not, ellipsoid with center x0 and matrix P is defined like this: x minus x0 transposed P x minus x0. If we consider center in origin, so this disappears. But in general, this ellipsoid in n-dimensional space, three-dimensional space, maybe center is here and ellipsoid is like that. Not obligatory in the center. So one second. Which inequality we wish to solve? I guess it is. Sorry. Okay, let's better consider next slide. I read on that back. Describe algorithm as the following way. Considers first ellipsoid with a center A and some matrix of ellipsoid is here, less than 1. A is positive. Then we suggest to put some plane which goes through this center. What does it mean, plane? We should consider some vector G in this point, in this point 0, which satisfies this inequality. And if we consider only arguments for this is negative, it means that we are from one place, only from one side of this semi-plane. So we have ellipsoid, then we put here some plane, and we from other side, and we consider then this semi-ellipsoid. So we consider another ellipsoid, but this is the cross of the general part of this semi-plane and previous ellipsoid. We can consider this combination. It is already not ellipsoid. It will be this not ellipsoid. So after that, we can consider ellipsoid which contains this combination. We can consider smaller ellipsoid which contain only this one, which contain only this one. And then we can find center of ellipsoid and can repeat this procedure. And what finally we will have? No? First we have this expression, then we consider semi only part of ellipsoid which satisfying this inequality. After that, we obtain new center. This ellipsoid, new ellipsoid will have new center here. Will have new center here. We obtain new ellipsoid with center A wave, and matrix J is suggested select in this way. And this is shifting of new center with respect to old one, this expression. And this is new matrix which is calculated. So if we make this iteration process, this is iteration process corresponding to this expression, we can find that this ellipsoid will decrease exponentially with this constant. And this method has a name. It will converge in polynomial time. It's possible to prove that it will converge in polynomial time with this formula, which corresponds to a description of volume of new ellipsoid with respect to another one. Oh, stop. This expression. And finally, we can find a point which will give a solution, center of ellipsoid and matrix as corresponding will give a solution of linear matrix inequality. More or less, idea is this one. If somebody wishes to understand more about this numerical procedure, you can find an internet book of Nesterov and Nesterov Numerovsky. This book, and they are fine. In my volume 1, you also can find this explanation, more or less. So this is solution. So we can minimize ellipsoid containing solution of some problem. We need to formulate problem as a LMI and after represent this algorithm. So, as already I say, Sedumi and you'll need to package which can be obtained directly in MATLAB. If you don't have it, you can upload it without, not necessary to pay. They are free to upload. You take directly from it. Try find an internet. That's very simple procedure.
Sir,
so,
excuse me, sir.
To summarize what we have today, what we discussed today. Now, for linear systems, linear stationary systems, it's possible to find different characteristics which we studied. It's possible to define H2 norm, H infinity norm, property of passivity, property of dissipativity, and different, this problem as logarithm determinant, the minimal ellipsoid inside of containing some given points. All of this problem are non-linear. It's very important. All of them are non-linear. And from first glance, from first point of view, it's difficult to resolve. But technique of LMI and basically sure complement permit represent all of this non-linear problem like some optimization problem of convex function with linear constraints, maybe not one. But if not one, you construct a block diagonal, finally you can consider only one matrix constraint. So this technique, and after apply numerical method. So solution is numerical. It is impossible to give analytical solution. But for designing problem, to resolve design problem, it's absolutely enough. We can, using this technique, tomorrow we start to study attractive ellipsoid method for robust nonlinear control using exactly these ideas which we just now discussed. So tomorrow we'll start with that. And a basic idea of this course to show that if we don't know exactly mathematical model of the system, anyway we can guarantee the convergence of trajectories, for example, error of triggering trajectories in some ellipsoid. And if we minimize the size of this ellipsoid with respect to, for example, gain matrix in feedback or gain matrix in observer, we can obtain optimal parameters for robust nonlinear controllers. This is main idea of the following course. So now you can forget about these 2 days. Yes, only to keep in mind that yes, we can apply. We know sure complement. We know how to simplify the conditions that some matrix positive or negative definite. We should also remember, require always that if during some analysis we have assumptions that some matrix W, for example, which we obtained during the analysis of stability, optimization, or something less than 0, and this matrix depends on, for example, feedback matrix K, like in problem X point Ix plus Ix plus BU, but U is K, so it will be like this. So if you consider this feedback, system with feedback, to analyze, as we remember, appears some matrix W which is proportional to K, and we obtain linear, but it will depend on P and K, and we obtain this inequality. Usually, from the first step, we never obtain LMI. We obtain that some matrix, normally it is bilinear because, now remember, considering our Lyapunov form, or Lyapunov-like form like that, when calculate derivative, we will have here 2x point, and when substituting here this dynamic, we will have A plus dk. So look, this term I is given, so this term is linear by P, but this term P by K is bilinear. So normally, during the first step of analysis, we never obtain LMI. That's why what I wish to recall. So normally we obtain that some quadratic form will be bilinear with respect to two matrices K and P. So which instrument we will use? You remember that if W is negative, symmetric is negative, then for any non-singular T, such that determinant T non-equal to 0, the following expression true will be also not. Or inverse, it's not important. So from this follows this inequality for any non-singular T. So normally we will try to find some transformation of coordinates such as initial bilinear problem will be converted, second step will be converted in LMI. Directly we never obtain LMI. Usually we obtain BMI, bilinear equality. But exists transformation if we can suggest. The transformation very simple, I explain you tomorrow. If exists transformation, so to check LMI, instead of this, we will check this inequality. But this is absolutely equivalent conditions. So now, how I say, you can forget any 2 days, only to know that exists LMI technique, exist numerical programs, how to resolve LMI and optimization problem. And basically, unique mathematical result, what we need is sure complement. We will use sure complement. And tomorrow we start, last 3 days will be as follows. Tomorrow we will start and finish attractive ellipsoid method, and 2 days we will study sliding on control. Sliding on control and observers, sliding on observers in Attractive research method also, we will study a situation when we measure all states, so it's direct feedback state. And when we cannot measure, so we will use some observer and estimation of observer substituting feedback. So this is more complex situation. And there we will have exactly a linear problem. So this is in general perspective which we are dealing with, which we will deal with tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
So thank you very much. The course schedule has already been told by him what he is going to take. So we end up here. It's a one hour lecture because he said he doesn't want to continue, start some topic in between, don't want to finish actually. So he will start it tomorrow. Attractive lecture altogether, a new topic and the method actually of approach. So we will go by his plan that he has planned. Tomorrow we will start.
Next days we start at 8, right? Tomorrow at 8 in the morning. No?
Yeah. Yeah. So how many hours you will take in the morning? How many hours? 2 months. How many hours in the morning? 1.
Maybe 2, maybe 1.5. I don't know. I prefer 45 minutes plus 45 minutes. It's 1.5.
The morning, 1.5 hours.
Yeah. So we can finish in 9:30.
In the evening.
That's the same. That's the same.
Okay, so we start at 8 and finish by 9:30. 9:30.
Maybe in the evening a little bit more because
Finish like 1 hour in the morning. Last time.
How is
1 hour.
how
And
is
the
it?
evening,
We can extend.
2 hours.
Because tomorrow I wish to show you some video
So
how it like attractive ellipsoid method for double inverted pendulum. How stabilize it. I have some video and we will discuss how it works.
on morning you can take 2 hours. Evening, 1 break.
How you say it?
Evening also 2 hours. Because 6 hours.
I have allowed you in the morning, in the evening.
Okay. That's possible. Okay. How you wish.
So we go 8 to 10 tomorrow morning and evening 4 to 6. Okay, that's fine. So you will be comfortable with discussion. And to give you an example that he was talking about ellipsoid minimization of the volume, it's a direct example in control. This type of problem. You have a controller passing through saturated and then going to the plant G of S. So when you have a saturated control where your actuator cannot take more than something, so your input is saturated. In such a case, it becomes a linear problem, becomes a non-linear problem because of actuator saturation. And in that case, you have to estimate domain of attraction. So you consider a convex set and start estimating what will be your largest ellipsoid that can go inside a set. So we exactly use that method that he has said. That's an application that where you maximize an ellipse or minimize. We don't minimize because we want to estimate the set of initial conditions which become larger. So this is a saturated control or actuator control problem where it's a local stability problem, local stabilization. So you want to estimate that how large will be your domain of attraction. So that is an invariant set principle that we use, and you have to find that invariant set, how large it is. And we go by defining a convex set, which is an ellipse or an ellipsoid. And we exactly use this minimization technique. This is one application that he was trying to tell. And secondly, YALMIP, okay, YALMIP is developed by some group. And SEDUMI is also another group of researchers who have come up with YALMIP and SEDUMI. They are MATLAB assisted. You need MATLAB to run this. So they are easy, but SEDUMI you will have to do a lot of tutorials before you start using SEDUMI, semi-definite programming. You can use YALMIP, but if you don't have, you can use directly the routines available in robust control toolbox of MATLAB. So you can just look for a function called FESP, feasibility problem. You can use that. You have a routine called mean CX in MATLAB. minimization or problem optimization, you have a routine called GEVP, generalized eigenvalue problem. These are available directly in the robust control toolbox of MATLAB. If you are not using YALMIP, that's Session-2. Because Session-2 you will require little bit of tutorial. You have to learn how to use Session-2. Little complicated, semi-definite program. YALMIP is easy, but when you are writing FISP, MinCX, or GEVP, actually you need to open up the element. And so if you have a very big LMI, then you have to write each and every component. So it takes time, but it is easy actually. But YALMIP, you can write the LMIs in more compact form. That's the advantage of YALMIP. But YALMIP will give a result of estimation which will be more conservative compared to the FISP. They are more accurate. That's what I have learned from some group working, because they told that we are improving some results, and they did it by YALMIP, I did it by FISP. So I got nearly about 10 to 15% better result using this. So they are more accurate, and they are available within the robust control toolbox of MATLAB. If you are not using YALMIP, that's it. And you have a good help how to use these 3 routines. And these are exactly the 3 problems that Professor has explained. Feasibility problem. And if you are trying to solve some optimization problem, you can use MinCX. Any linear objective function, you have to define subject to constraint. Constraints are nothing but LMIs. LMIs, in short, I can say, what is an LMI? LMI is nothing but a representation of constraints, basically. And an eigenvalue problem, generalized eigenvalue problem. 3 routines are available. This is also optimization.
The last comment. Why we will deal with ellipsoid, attractive ellipsoid? If you consider any controllable system with noise, with some noise, which never disappears, with some noise, which is bounded, you understand that we never can stabilize system in 0. Assume that we arrived in 0, x point is 0, but noise always exists, and you go out. So when you have noise, what we can guarantee is that you can stabilize in 0, but your system will move, always move. And we will try to find minimal ellipsoid which contains this moment. This is idea. Why ellipsoid? Because if no noise, we can directly, and this ellipsoid is 0, you conversion point. But if there's noise, we never can converge. This is a problem. And how estimate it? And tomorrow we will study it detail. How are you feeling? In Mexico exists, maybe here in Mexico. You can buy here now. With menthol, with something.